Chinese numerals are words and characters used to denote numbers in Chinese. Today, speakers of Chinese use 3 written numeral systems: the system of Arabic numerals used worldwide, and 2 indigenous systems. The more familiar indigenous system is based on Chinese characters that correspond to numerals in the spoken language. These are shared with other languages of the Chinese cultural sphere such as Japanese, Korean and Vietnamese. Most people and institutions in China primarily use the Arabic system for convenience, with traditional Chinese numerals used in finance, mainly for writing amounts on checks, banknotes, some ceremonial occasions, some boxes, and on commercials. The other indigenous system is the Soerfm numerals, or Huema, a positional system, the only surviving form of the rod numerals. These were once used by Chinese mathematicians, and later in Chinese markets, such as those in Hong Kong before the 1990s, but have been gradually supplanted by Arabic numerals, characters used to represent numbers. The Chinese character numeral system consists of the Chinese characters used by the Chinese written language to write spoken numerals. Similar to spelling out numbers in English, it is not an independent system per se. Since it reflects spoken language, it does not use the positional system as in Arabic numerals, in the same way that speaking out numbers in English does not. Standard numbers: there are characters representing the numbers 0 through 9, and other characters representing larger numbers such as tens, hundreds, thousands and so on. There are 2 sets of characters for Chinese numerals, one for everyday writing and one for use in commercial or financial contexts known as daxi. The latter arose because the characters used for writing numerals are geometrically simple, so simply using those numerals cannot prevent forgeries in the same way speaking numbers out in English would. A forger could easily change the everyday characters to just by adding a few strokes. That would not be possible when writing using the financial characters, and they are also referred to as bankers' numerals, anti-fraud numerals, or bankers' anti-fraud numerals. For the same reason, rod numerals were never used in commercial records. T denotes traditional Chinese characters, S denotes simplified Chinese characters. Characters with regional usage, characters with military usage in the PLA. Some numbers will have altered names when used for clearer radio communications. There. 0, renamed lit. Whole. 1, renamed lit. Small. 2, renamed lit. Double. 4, renamed lit. Knife. 7, renamed lit. Turn. 9, renamed lit. Hook. Large numbers for numbers larger than 10,000. Similarly to the long and short scales in the West, there have been 4 systems in ancient and modern usage. The original one, with unique names for all powers of 10 up to the 14th, is ascribed to the Yellow Emperor in the 6th century book by Zhen Luan, Wu Jing Xuanshu. In modern Chinese only the second system is used, in which the same ancient names are used, but each represents a number 10,000 times the previous. In practice, this situation does not lead to ambiguity, with the exception of, which means 1012 according to the system in common usage throughout the Chinese communities as well as in Japan and Korea, but has also been used for 106 in recent years. To avoid problems arising from the ambiguity, the PRC government never uses this character in official documents, but uses instead. The ROC government in Taiwan uses to mean 1012 in official documents. Numbers from Buddhism. Numerals beyond Xi come from Buddhist texts in Sanskrit, but are mostly found in ancient texts. Small numbers. The following are characters used to denote small order of magnitude in Chinese historically. With the introduction of SI units, some of them have been incorporated as SI prefixes, while the rest have fallen into disuse. SI prefixes in the People's Republic of China. The translations for the SI prefixes in 1981 were different from those used today. The larger and smaller Chinese numerals were defined as translations for the SI prefixes as mega, giga, tera, peta, exa, micro, nano, pico, femto, atto, resulting in the creation of yet more values for each numeral. The Republic of China defined as the translation for mega. This translation is widely used in official documents, academic communities, informational industries, etc. However, the civil broadcasting industry is sometimes used to represent megahertz. Today, the governments of both China and Taiwan use phonetic transliterations for the SI prefixes. However, the governments have each chosen different Chinese characters for certain prefixes. The following table lists the two different standards together with the early translation. Reading and transcribing numbers. In Mandarin, the multiplier is often used rather than for all numbers. Chapter 200 and greater with the 2 numeral. Use of both or are acceptable for the number 200. When writing in the Cantonese dialect, is used to represent the 2 numeral for all numbers. In the Southern Min dialect, a chaozhou is used to represent the 2 numeral in all numbers from 200 onwards. Thus, for the numbers chapter 11 through 19, the leading 1 is usually omitted. Sometimes, the 1 before 10 in the middle of a number, such as 213, is omitted. Thus, notes, nothing is ever omitted in large and more complicated numbers such as this. In certain older texts like the Protestant Bible or in poetic usage, numbers such as 114 may be written as 110:4. Hence it is more convenient to think of numbers here as in groups of 4. Thus 1,234,567,890 is regrouped here as 12, 3,456, 7,890. Larger than a myriad, each number is therefore 4 zeros longer than the one before it, thus 10,000 times 1 equals yi. If one of the numbers is between 10 and 19, the leading 1 is omitted as per the above point. Hence, interior zeros before the unit position must be spelt explicitly. The reason for this is that trailing zeros are often omitted as shorthand, so ambiguity occurs. 1 0 is sufficient to resolve the ambiguity. Where the 0 is before a digit other than the unit's digit, the explicit 0 is not ambiguous and is therefore optional, but preferred. Thus, fractional values. To construct a fraction, the denominator is written first, followed by and then the numerator. This is the opposite of how fractions are read in English, which is numerator first. Each half of the fraction is written the same as a whole number. Mixed numbers are written with the whole number part first, followed by then the fractional part. Percentages are constructed similarly, using as the denominator. The before is omitted. Decimal numbers are constructed by first writing the whole number part, then inserting a point, and finally the decimal expression. The decimal expression is written using only the digits for 0 to 9, without multiplicative words. Ordinal numbers are formed by adding die before the number. Negative numbers are formed by adding before the number. Usage. Chinese grammar requires the use of classifiers when a numeral is used together with a noun to express a quantity. For example, 3 people is expressed as san-ge-er-q-10, 3 ge person, where ge is a classifier. There exists many different classifiers, for use with different sets of nouns, although is the most common, and may be used informally in place of other classifiers. Chinese uses cardinal numbers in certain situations in which English would use ordinals. For example, Sanlu means third floor. Likewise, shi yi shija is used for 21st century. Numbers of years are commonly spoken as a sequence of digits, as in Ling Ling Yi for the year 2001. Names of months and days are also expressed using numbers. Yi for January, etc., and Zinki for Monday, etc. Full dates are usually written in the format 2001 120 for January 20, 2001. All the numbers are read as cardinals, not ordinals. with no leading zeros, and the year is read as a sequence of digits. For brevity, the year, U and Re may be dropped to give a date composed of just numbers, so for example 64 in Chinese is 6/4, short for month 6 day 4, i.e. June 4, a common Chinese shorthand for the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989, counting rod and Soerfm numerals. In the same way that Roman numerals were standard in ancient and medieval Europe for mathematics and commerce, the Chinese formerly used the rod numerals, which is a positional system. The Soerfm numerals system is a variation of the Southern Song rod numerals. Nowadays, the Huima system is only used for displaying prices in Chinese markets or on traditional handwritten invoices. Hand gestures. There is a common method of using of one hand to signify the numbers 1 to 10, while the 5 digits on one hand can express the numbers 1 to 5. 6 to 10 have special signs that can be used in commerce or day-to-day communication. Historical use of numerals in China. Most Chinese numerals of later periods were descendants of the Shang dynasty oracle numerals of the 14th century BC. The oracle bone script numerals were found on tortoise shell and animal bones. In early civilizations, the Shang were able to express any numbers, however large, with only 9 symbols and a counting board. Some of the bronze script numerals such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11, 12, and 13 became part of the system of rod numerals. In this system, horizontal rod numbers are used for the tens, thousands, hundred thousands, etc. Sun Tzu wrote that 1 is vertical, 10 is horizontal. The counting rod numerals system has place value and decimal numerals for computation, and was used widely by Chinese merchants, mathematicians and astronomers from the Han Dynasty to the 16th century. Alexander Wiley, Christian missionary to China, in 1853 already refuted the notion that the Chinese numbers were written in words at length, and stated that in ancient China, calculation was carried out by means of counting rods, and the written character is evidently a rude presentation of these. After being introduced to the rod numerals, he said, having thus obtained a simple but effective system of figures, we find the Chinese in actual use of a method of notation depending on the theory of local value, i.e., place value, several centuries before such theory was understood in Europe. And while yet the science of numbers had scarcely dawned among the Arabs, during the Ming and Qing dynasties, some Chinese mathematicians used Chinese numeral characters as positional system digits. After the Qing period, both the Chinese numeral characters and the Soerfm numerals were replaced by Arabic numerals in mathematical writings. Cultural influences. Traditional Chinese numeric characters are also used in Japan and Korea and were used in Vietnam before the 20th century. In vertical text, using characters for numbers is the norm, while in horizontal text, Arabic numerals are most common. Chinese numeric characters are also used in much the same formal or decorative fashion that Roman numerals are in Western cultures. Chinese numerals may appear together with Arabic numbers on the same sign or document.